In wake of The Phantom Menace turning 20, I found myself reflecting on why I really love this film. It's not that it's just another Star Wars film, and therefore I like it. The Phantom Menace is a bookmark in my life. It's vivid. I remember being so outrageously hyped to see this film that I collected every character's likeness that appeared on cola cans during the marketing phase. And I displayed these all in my room, at home, like a weirdo. And I guess not much has changed. Of course, I think there are plenty of valid criticisms of The Phantom Menace, but to be frank, I just don't give a shit. I'm what the people call prequel positive. So rather than focus on the negatives, I'd rather talk about the things that make me really, really love this film. So let's hop to it. Yippee! Aesthetically, the biggest thing for me out of all of the prequels is that this one still maintains that old lived-in quality for a large chunk of the film. There were some enormous real sets giving this film a true sense of awe, especially when I was a young kid watching this on the big screen. The Phantom Menace also brought us to Coruscant and Naboo, two radically different planets. Naboo for me seemed like the Alderaan that we never were able to see. It's a beautiful setting. As a kid, I remembered really obsessing over how cool the architecture was for Naboo. It felt ancient. This is the contrast in Star Wars I love, and it's really done well here. Ancient and advanced technology. The contrast between the Jedi in robes looking at the Coruscant horizon is still an image seared into my mind and still demonstrates this contrast in Star Wars. Now, speaking of Jedi, we meet young Obi-Wan Kenobi and his master, the stoic Qui Gon Jinn, and this was ridiculously exciting for me. Before this, we followed Luke as he journeyed to become a Jedi Knight, but Qui Gon Jinn was the first time we saw how the Jedi of old operated within the galaxy. It was neat to say the least. Obi-Wan as a teen blew my mind, but even in this film you get glimpses of the old man he will turn into, and that's props to Ewan for nailing Obi-Wan. He made it his own, but some of that spark that Alec Guinness created for older Obi-Wan was captured in Ewan's performance. And the film also gave us the Jedi Council, which was way weirder than I thought it could ever be. And no, I don't mean Yaddle. I was actually really confused, but in a good way. There were all these different kinds of aliens that could be Jedi. These weird-shaped aliens could somehow kick a Sith's ass. In this one shot, my entire outlook on what the Jedi could be changed forever. Connection to the Force seems to be what matters. Not lightsabers, not dueling, connection. I wonder if this was part of Lucas's thinking while creating the Council. It's so eclectic, it's almost like an inverse version of the Cantina scene. Rather than a hive of scum and villainy, it's a temple of alien Jedi chilling in a circle. Along with Jedi, there are always Sith. Darth Maul is without a doubt one of the most iconic characters ever. His red and black face, the horns, the whole getup. It was like a Sith fever dream for me. Darth Maul hunting the Queen on behalf of his master Sidious led to my favorite scene in the film. This scene right here. A Sith apprentice up against a Jedi master. This was mesmerizing, and the way the whole sequence was filmed still gives me chills today. It was our first duel in the sand, and it was intense. I'll never forget thinking of how insane it was for a Jedi Master to be facing a Sith apprentice. Even the way this sequence ends is chill-inducing. The frame of Maul as he turns off the saber is my favorite frame in the movie. Of course, the final lightsaber duel is one of my favorite aspects of the film, 100%. I do not remember if anyone cheered or not in theaters when Darth Maul fully ignited his dual-bladed lightsaber, but I was absolutely captivated by it. I think I went through 10 different toys of that dual-bladed lightsaber growing up. The fight between the three Force users is aggressive and the first of its kind as far as Star Wars goes. These were highly trained Force users, and the speed and agility was mesmerizing on screen. And I'm pretty sure that the sabers had a much beefier, louder quality in this film. It seems that way to me, and I'm not sure if any of you disagree, but somehow this film's sabers had much more weight to them. And I'd actually say the only films other than this film that also maintain this quality of weight would be the sequel trilogy films. One thing a lot of people might disagree with me on is Jake Lloyd. While I do not think he is a great actor, I also do not think he acted any worse than previous people who have starred in Star Wars. You know, the good ones. Exhibit A.
A strike team will land on the moon and deactivate the shield generator.
Sir, rebel ships are coming into our sector.
Good. Our first catch of the day.
Into the garbage chute, flyboy!
When I was 13 in theaters watching this, I could give a shit about Jake Lloyd's acting or Natalie Portman's acting, to be frank. I was intrigued by the fact that we met Darth Vader as a 10-year-old boy. This absurdly nice, well-to-do slave boy from Tatooine was going to turn into this? Insane. That's pretty wild to consider. And with that on my mind, I suppose I never got too bogged down by if things were too silly for me or not. I was 13. The Phantom Menace also gave us pod racing. The pod race scene was some of the funnest Star Wars camp I have ever watched. Again, I have to say this film made things feel really big. This scene to me was Lucas saying, you know what would be cool? Drag racing. So let's make that a pastime on Tatooine, but with steampunk future vessels that are outrageously deadly. And I like that Anakin raced this insane vehicle that looked like they could fall apart at any moment, and that he was the only human who could do this, period. It was a very unique and interesting approach of Lucas to start setting up Anakin's pilot skills in this way. It works. Now, speaking of piloting, even the battle in space with the Naboo fighters against the Federation ship was spectacular. It maintained that World War II dogfight vibe 100%. There were a couple of funny woohoos from Anakin, but I'd put that dogfight right up there with the assault on the Death Star in A New Hope. It's a really well shot sequence. Now, lastly, I have to say that Padme Amidala also was one of my favorite aspects in this film. At first, we're introduced to this extremely formal queen and her handmaidens, only to find out that who we thought was a handmaiden was actually the queen. And of course, they were going in and out of being decoys throughout the movie, but this is sort of how I originally took it. And I thought this was awesome. Although Padme was a young queen, she came off extremely intelligent. The scenes of her with the Galactic Senate made me basically forget she was some 14-year-old girl. Now, I'm sure the tone of voice and costume has a lot to do with this, but overall, she was one of the best aspects of the film. A queen who marches to her own drumbeat, similar to Qui Gon Jinn, the Rogue Jedi. Now, I could talk about this film for the rest of the day, but you know me, I got other scripts to make. So I hope you've enjoyed me talking about some of the things I love about The Phantom Menace. And if you do have any questions that you want to ask me, ask them in the comments below. I do write everything down now, so that way I can start making catered content to specific questions in the comment feed. I do want to get it out there that this film without a doubt deserves the love it is getting and has gotten. I'm glad people, for one reason or another, have warmed up to the prequels over the past couple of years. And maybe that is because of the sequel trilogy, I'm not sure, but you know me, I do really enjoy the sequel trilogy. It's some of my favorite films of the past 5 years. The Phantom Menace to me is basically George Lucas Unbound. Perhaps he should have been reined in here or there, but I'm glad this was a pure vision from the creator. Lucas always wanted to be free from the studio's grip on creativity, and this movie was basically a love letter to that sentiment. May the Force be with you. The atatchat is signing off.